The debate about Antifa has reared its ugly head again. Now, I'm going to encourage any of you to try and find me a place where Antifa are housed. If you could just Google for me their head office somewhere. I need to find out where it is so that I can probably join. Because at the moment, in the United States and around the world, they're crying out for any anti-fascist movement, which is simply a movement that stands against what's happening in the United States and around populism here in Australia and around the world, in terms of confronting what one might determine or might decree to be a fascist regime. Now, one can argue, and I'm not prepared to argue at this particular point, that Donald Trump's regime is necessarily fascist. I am suggesting, though, that they're anti-democratic and that they have the signs, the symbols, that they represent through their behaviour things which one could identify as being, I don't know, a precursor to a fascist organisation. However, they're not at that point. It's troubling, I agree, but it's not there right at the moment. But one of the issues that primarily concerns me is the fact that the right wing, and here in Australia, and I'll show you an example of that in just a moment, are suggesting that Antifa is an organisation that, number one, exists and that therefore can be controlled. And what we're seeing in the United States is this effort to be able to control anyone that sits on the progressive side of politics by identifying them as being a terrorist organisation. It is preposterous, it is stupid, it is simply what Trump administration does. My fear is that this idea is being propagated here in Australia as well, and that Sky News are those that are selling the notion that Antifa is an organisation to start with. Please tell me how you join it. And secondly, that it needs to be eradicated. Now, this is a telling moment for all of us, because if the right wing decide to take over, who can be or who is prepared to articulate left-wing views, therefore they would sit in this criteria, in this space that some of these people that you're about to see would identify as Antifa. And so Antifa has become the name that's associated with anybody that sits on the left of politics, who is interested in equality, fairness, a fair go here in Australia. Anyone who sits there would be identified as being associated with Antifa, an organisation which simply does not exist. So I'm going to play this video for you of my friend Mr. Morrow talking about this particular issue, and let me know what you think in relation to this.
Trump has just ordered, apparently, the full force of the military into what he called war-ravaged Portland, Oregon. Now, he says that ICE facilities have been under attack. We saw that horrific attack in Dallas the other day.
We need to note that it's not war-ravaged, and if you look up, if you have a look at or Google Portland, Oregon, you will find that the population is divided 67% white, 7 or 8% or somewhere around that black, and the rest are Latino. So it has a very high percentage of white people. The problem that Trump would have with Oregon or Portland is that it's democratic. So that's the important one. In terms of the number of where they sit in the scale of crimes in the United States, I think they're around 27th. So they're not a high crime rate at all. And it flies in the face of everything that normally Trump would do, because Trump usually decides to occupy states that he actually really doesn't like California and DC, and DC in particular because he can, and because in DC they have a high African American proportion of population. So these are the reasons. But in Portland, It is confusing, extremely confusing. The only reason why Trump would confront Portland is that they have a large percentage of people who are raising havoc around what ICE are doing. And they've had rallies and so forth because, you see, in Portland, they know the facts. They know that what ICE is doing is damaging and is harmful, and they've stood against them. And when someone stands to this issue, if someone stands against Trump, he will have a go at you. He will try to destroy you in whichever way he can. Call that fascism, if you like. But nevertheless, this is what he's attempting to do in Portland. So here we have the Outsiders group talking about this as only they can in the most bizarre and inaccurate fashion you can possibly ever imagine.
We keep seeing, my media is just full of footage of ICE vehicles being surrounded, ICE officers being attacked, facilities being attacked, facilities under siege.
You can find stacks of videos, incidentally, that are showing a very peaceful and quite a beautiful place, namely Portland.
If these cities and states where this is happening don't go along with this, this seems to lead to a real sort of, well, you know, it almost sounds like the Democrats might be having an insurrection, John. And I know we're not supposed to say that about the Democrats, but that's what it feels like.
No, we can only say insurrection. I like the way, do you like the look of him in his face? He's looking at the camera saying, yes, well, that was very clever of me. Not really. You're a moron, to say the least. But so he's got this other guy on who's going to talk about it. We'll just play a little bit of that and then I'll finish.
Well, I think that's the name of the law, isn't it? The Insurrection Act.
Precisely.
So this is a complicated subject. The circumstances under which a president can send military force inside the United States are narrowly circumscribed. And so you have the Posse Comitatus Act, which says normally he can't do it, but there are exceptions. And then you have the Insurrection Act that authorizes him to do it in certain circumstances. I think Trump's strongest case for using federal forces to preserve order is when federal employees and federal installations, federal buildings, and so on are under attack.
And they're not. But nevertheless, Trump has done it. Why not? It's a democratic state. You must fight democracy wherever you see it, and particularly if your party has got the word Democrat in front of it, then clearly that must be attacked. But let us not forget that Antifa does not exist. This is the lie that's being spread by people like Morrow and people at Sky News, and and hopefully it doesn't take on here in Australia, because it would mean that people like myself and others that sit on the left of politics will be identified as being Antifa, where we're not. So let me know what you think in the comment sections below. Has Trump gone too far? Yes, he has. What impact do you think this will have on Australia, given that we tend to focus a lot, and these dudes on Sky tend to focus a lot on what's happening. I've got some more videos on that, which I'll be doing later, on how the United States is influencing Australian politics and where that stands in terms of Trumpism in Australia. Another great conversation that we should have. And I want to, could you let me know what you find interesting? What you think is worthwhile talking about? Let me know in the comment section below. And please remember to subscribe to my channel. It costs you nothing and it helps me out. And as a really old fart, I'd really appreciate it. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. In the meantime, take care.